How you doing? Welcome to Frankie Russo pre-show number 70. Crazy, right? Got a great show for you tonight. I just want to do a little pre-show. I've been doing it for quite a number of weeks now, and we're building toward the June 30th Iranian nuke deal because I'm sticking to my guns on this. I believe it. I believe it's statistically significant, and I'm going to move on to some other information to show the evidence, to show the statistically significant information that I don't know how former President Clinton, now head of the Clinton Foundation, didn't know when they took $105,000 basically from the Iranian government, how they didn't know the Alevi Foundation, which was the foundation that donated the money to the Clinton Foundation. I don't know how President Clinton doesn't know that they're a terrorist entity because based on the federal law, can't accept uh, Title 18, the RICO statute, Title 21, can't accept if the person or the organization knows that the money that the foundation is accepting money from a terrorist entity and they know it, it's illegal. And then, as we discussed earlier, it's in my pre-shows. It's on my YouTube channel, Frankie Russo Video. You can get more information on this on this on this criminal enterprise, the Bomber administration. So we believe it's statistically significant that the Bomber administration is a terrorist entity, is a criminal enterprise. Absolutely. And what puts it over the top is the monies that were taken from the Alevi Foundation and given to the Clinton Foundation. Alevi Foundation, by the court case, we talk about it in the other video, so you get more detailed information. I went over in detail with an article by Kelly Moore from the Lewis and Clark Law Journal, statistically significant journal. It shows all of the evidence about the Blind Sheikh's Mosque, because the Alevi Foundation, not only did they give $105,000 to the Clinton Foundation, it gave, according to three sources that I know of, Rachel Effenfeld, the rest, the Hanskew versus Special Services Division in 2003 case, and the American Spectator, all three of them claim that the Alevi Foundation gave $1.4 million to the Blind Sheikh's Mosque. So it's crazy. I don't know how the Clinton Foundation and President Clinton doesn't know that, because that's the case. The transaction conceivably is prohibited based on the and W had the Patriot Act, Executive Order 1322-4. It's clear. It's clearly stated. Taking money, donations from terrorist entities is illegal. Helping terrorist entities to avoid sanctions is illegal, according to the Executive Order 1322-4, W's Executive Order. I think it was, I forget the year, I think it was 2001, after the terrorist attack of September 11th, 2001. The Executive Order 1324 came into play under W. So that's where we're at. So now I want to go into more information. I just want to keep bringing in information each week, new information, and more, and to show that, though under the presidential executive fiat, he used President Clinton, like Obama. Obama uses the humanitarian aid to give money to terrorists. President Clinton, they had a bill passed, like I mentioned in my other shows on my Frankie Russo video, the pre-shows, October 21st, 1998, Omnibus Bill in the year of 1999, Section 117. He signed it, and that Section 117 enables American families to gain some sort of recovery for the loss of the unfortunate attacks of the losses of their loved ones from these unfortunate terrorist attacks by these rogue terrorist states. So the Section 117 enables the American people to garner some sort of recovery money. Like I said in my other shows, 650 Fifth Avenue was seized and forfeited. So the proceeds of the sale of this building was going to the families of the terrorist attack of September 11, 2001, the unfortunate attack there, and the families of the Marines that were killed in the Beirut bombing in the 1980s. So these are the things, that's what that Section 117 was. But what happened was, that's 3 hours later, October 21st, 1998, President Clinton signed Presidential Determination Executive Order 99-1, which waives Section 117 under national security. So he went on the side of the terrorists now, over the American people, under the guise of national security. And Obama would do the same thing, like with Libya, and with Hamas, and with other terrorist regimes and other terrorist states, sponsors of terror, where he had problems with the United States Senate, where they actually drafted a letter, 88 senators, asking him to actually blocking money that's going to Hamas, because Hamas is a terrorist entity and he's sending money there. He used his executive order and his authority under the humanitarian aid, and Hillary Clinton was involved with that as well. So this is how these presidents work, and it's called, I guess it's called, my understanding, presidential fiat, executive fiat. It's something that they take the side of the terrorists over the American people, the interests of the American people, which is shown here again when we got this blind sheikh's mosque, $1.4 million blind sheikh's mosque. Okay, so now I'm going to go. I just wanted to go over this briefly, and now I'm going to go to this hand skew versus special services division to further show what all this information and all this evidence. How doesn't President Clinton know that the Wabc Foundation is a terrorist entity? I don't know how he doesn't know that, because if he knows that, and we can prove that he knows that, then that transaction between the Wabc Foundation and Clinton Foundation is prohibited. It's illegal. So I'm gonna go to this ABSCU versus Special Services Division case in 2003. It's 71 Civil 2203, Appendix A. Now, the preliminary paragraph of this just talks about how the mosque and Islamic institutes over here in America shield the work of terrorists from the law enforcement scrutiny by taking advantage of restrictions on the investigation of the First Amendment activity. So basically, they utilized the work of these covert terrorists, the work of these Islamic institutes and mosques, used the First Amendment to do their work over here in America. And right, they take advantage of it, the First Amendment. So the following examples I'm going to show, I'm going to read, because I just want everybody to understand how much information is out there on the Blind Sheikh's Mosque, on the activities of these Islamic institutes and mosques that were furthering financing of terror, furthering the cause of this Islamic radical Islamist movement against America and against Israel. It is amazing. I don't know how President Clinton doesn't know that the Wabc Foundation is a terrorist entity. Therefore, he should not be accepting money from the Alevi Foundation because they are a terrorist entity. It's just mind-boggling. So this is, I understand something. This is a statistically significant argument in my world. All right, this hasn't gone through the smell test or anything. This is something that I believe is statistically significant. In other words, it's within the standard deviation of the mean. It's within the standard deviation of classified documents. And I believe with some certainty, we can make a prediction that's highly probable, that's highly likely to be accurate. Believe it or not. So, according to this Appendix A of the Hanskew versus Special Services Division, 71 Civil 2203, the examples of lawful activity engaged in by the terrorist conspirators provide a backdrop to the discussion of and it's interesting because this appendix talks about the need to maximize the NYPD's ability to gather facts and make vital connections through intelligence analysis. And then we got, Lieutenant Stephen Rogers going on television today talking about, from the FBI, talking about how we're in a war with ISIS, which I believe is Iran. So I mean, it's a problem. And then we got all this other backdrop from the people all out to protest, but then we got these race riots, which are tying the hands of the police force, the NYPD, among other police forces throughout the country. And so it's crazy, right? It's unbelievable. So according to this appendix, 1993 World Trade Center bombing was planned. I'm reading right from the appendix. This is great information. Was planned at a Jersey City mosque where the blind sheik denounced the United States at the time of the bombing of the 1993 World Trade Center. And the imam of the Jersey City mosque was none other than Muhammad al-Hanoudi. Now, al-Hanoudi wrote a letter of recommendation in 1980 for Mohammed Salama, who was the driver of the Ryder van that delivered the bomb to the garage of the World Trade Center in 1993. When Salama rented the Ryder van, he used the address of the Jersey City Islamic Center, where, according to the above paragraph, the 1993 World Trade Center bombing was planned by the blind sheik. Now we know the blind sheik had to leave Egypt. So here's another thing: the blind sheik had to leave Egypt. He had to leave Egypt because of terrorist activities. We have arguably the greatest, one of the greatest intelligence agencies in the world, the FBI and the CIA. I don't know how this guy gets into the United States. This blind sheik. I don't know. It's like, for me, now I'm not being a truther or nothing, so don't get it twisted. I just don't know. I don't understand how, and to take it a step further, we had the bombing of the World Trade Center in 1993. With all the information that we got in the 90s with this bombing of the World Trade Center in 1993, how did 2001 happen? I don't know. The FBI and the CIA, these are great agencies. These people know a lot. They got a lot of information. And they know how to get the information. And then when they get you, boy, they got you. Let me tell you, they're good. So to move this forward, shortly after the arrival of the blind sheik, he became the imam of the Al Farouk Mosque in Brooklyn. That's the mosque that I talk about in the other shows, from the Kelly Moore's article on the prosecutions on the war of terror before and after September 11th. He has a lot of information on the Blind Sheik's Mosque in that article. I talk about it in a number of shows. I go over it and embellish on it even more and more and more each week to give more information to show how doesn't President Clinton know that the Alevi Foundation isn't a terrorist entity? It is. So he shouldn't be able to, he shouldn't take that money, but he took it. And he refuses till today to return it. It's crazy, man. So he preached, and also the blind sheikh preached often at the Islamic Community Center, which is Abu Bakr's mosque in Brooklyn. And in addition, also in Brooklyn, and controlled the Al-Kifa Relief Center there. Now that's going to come into play in a few minutes, a few seconds, basically. But according to this appendix, in 1997, the Blind Sheikh's Mosque received $1.4 million from the Alevi Foundation, a U.S. charitable organization controlled by the Iranian government, which was proved statistically significant, proven by Brit Bahara, his case, his complaint, filed in the Southern District and ruled by Judge Catherine Forrest. 650 Fifth Avenue. It's all in my pre-shows and on the Frankie Russo video. 650 Fifth Avenue was seized and forfeited by the United States government. This is statistically significant. There's no, I got the cuss. It's very clear. There's no in between. Gray, it's very clear. Okay. So now that we got that, this is another source. This is the other source of this $1.4 million going to the Blind Sheikh's Mosque from the Alevi Foundation. Now, the Al-Kifa Relief Center, which was founded by Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan, diverted vast amounts of money to terrorist activities in camps. Now, so this is part of this, because understand, like the blind sheikh, he comes from Egypt. The Yemen sheikh, the two Yemen sheikhs in the Kelly Moore article from the Lewis and Clark Law Review Journal, they came from Yemen. They come in here. I don't know how they get in here. I don't know how these sheiks get into this country. Mind-boggling. So this is other gentleman, Muhammad Abu Halama, had a key role in the management of the Al-Kifa Relief Center and was a driver of the Blind Sheikh. In 1995, Abu Halama was convicted for his involvement in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, and he financed his terrorist activity. He ran a phony coupon redemption center in Brooklyn. Bro, what's going on over here? This is in the 90s. Only God knows what they're doing today in Brooklyn in 2015. This is in the 90s. Remember in the Kelly Moore article I talk about over these shows? On the Frankie Russo video, we talk about the ice cream parlor with the Brooklyn Ring and the Al Rani ring, the Brooklyn Ring, and how, just an hypothetical, I'm walking down Flatbush. It's a hot day. I want to get an ice cream. I'm sitting in the ice cream parlor. I'm having a frap. I'm in another world. I'm loving this sundae with the sauces and the walnuts and all this stuff going on. And then comes in 4 FBI agents saying, who's the owner of this enterprise? Crazy, right? Oh, yeah. We want to know where he is. We want to find him. They have $21 million in their bank accounts from about 11 people, 11 different accounts, funneling through this ice cream parlor's bank accounts to 15 countries to fund terror throughout the world. Crazy! In Brooklyn, Flatbush, Brooklyn. Now we got this cat, Abu Halima, ran a phony coupon redemption center in Brooklyn. It was from this Abu Bakr Mosque in Brooklyn that the Blind Sheikh and others planned the Day of Terror, in which a bomb was to explode. They planned a cataclysmic Day of Terror in which the bomb was to explode at each of the United Nations, the George Washington Bridge, the Lincoln Holland Tunnels, and 26 Federal Plaza. Ultimately, as you know, the Blind Sheikh was convicted for this plot. He's serving a life sentence. Terrorist manuals on Al-Kafar letterhead were admitted into evidence at the trial. Do you see these are mosques? These are sheiks that have terrorist activity issues in their own countries. They have to leave their countries. And I don't know how they get in here. I don't know how they get in here. Now, here's an interesting one. And this is starting to get into some stuff that I'm very interested in. And we're going to talk about this more next week, because what's happening is this whole thing is going like this, but the circle is getting bigger and bigger and broader, because in 1995, according to this Habscu versus this Hanscu versus Special Services Division case in 2003, Southern District of New York, January 2nd, 2003. 71 CIV Civil 2203. I guess that's the jacket number. In 1995, Al Ranudi was named as an unindicted co-conspirator in the bomb plot by former U.S. Attorney Mary Jo White. This is right from Appendix A of this text on this case on the Hanscu versus Special Services Division. So Al Ranudi, and we go back, Al Ranudi, let's go back a little bit. Al Ranudi, just to connect this. Al Ranudi, here. 1993 World Trade Center bombing was planned in a Jersey City mosque where the blind sheik denounced the United States. At the time of the bombing, the imam of the Jersey City mosque was Muhammad Al Ranudi. Muhammad Al Ranudi wrote a letter of recommendation. Look, does that mean anything? But we know that the blind sheik was found guilty. We know that Abu Halama, who played a key role in the Al-Kafar Relief Center founded by Osama bin Laden, was involved in the 1993 World Trade Center. That's connecting the dot there. And he financed his activity through a phony coupon redemption center. So another example of how, like an ice cream shop where a member of the Brooklyn Ring was involved, $20 million to Al-Qaeda was funneled from America, and $5 million was funneled to Hamas. And then we got this Abu Bakr mosque in Brooklyn, and the blind sheik. This all the blind sheik's mosque, and the blind sheik is all over this. And this plot to bomb the Lincoln Tunnel, the Holland Tunnel, George Washington Bridge, and the blind sheik was involved. And the manuals were in Al-Kafar letterhead. Al-Kafar Relief Center was founded by Osama bin Laden. This is in court papers. And now we're going to something that brings this to another, and I'm going to close it on this, and we're going to get more into this Hanscu case. In 1995, Al Ranudi was named as unindicted co-conspirator with Mary Jo White, United States Attorney. At the time, he was the imam of the largest mosque in the Albany area. In '93, he raised $6 million for the support of Hamas in Israel, which was funneled through the famous foundation, the Holy Land Foundation trial. The Holy Land Foundation. Al Ranudi denies any involvement in the bombing or raising funds to support Hamas, which we know isn't true. The Holy Land Foundation was outlawed in Israel as a fundraising tool of Hamas. Although the U.S. branch of the foundation denies raising money for Hamas, listen to this. This is in Appendix A, Hanscu versus Special Services Division. IRS records show that the single largest contribution between '89 and '94 was from a Virginia businessman named Musa Abu Marzouk, who was since emerged as Hamas political leader. Marzouk was jailed in New York after Israel arrested two men based in New York who claimed Marzouk had given them $300,000 in cash and wire transfers to set up a terrorist cell on the West Bank. The FBI has frozen the funds of the Holy Land Foundation trial in the United States and designated it as an organization which supports the financing of terror. I don't know if anybody's aware of this, but the Holy Land Foundation trial, it's a trial coming out of Texas with like this, like this Blind Cheeks Mosque in Brooklyn. The Holy Land Foundation trial with Judge Salas, court papers, FBI surveillance, FBI wiretaps, FBI, the wire transfers the FBI followed, the whole 246 unindicted co-conspirators, Muslim Brotherhood organizations from CARE to ISNA, CARE, Council of Islamic American Relations, ISNA, Islamic Society of North America, all of these 501c3s, which were, most of them, it's my understanding, most of them were approved by Lois Lerner from the IRS to get their 501c3 status in America. They all were involved in this. They call them Muslim Brotherhood front organizations, and the biggest money laundering scheme for terror in this country's history was in Texas, the Holy Land Foundation. They call it the Holy Land Foundation trial. And there were early indictments, but what happened was, and this is where all the controversy came, Eric Holder was the Attorney General at the time. It came before him, I think in 2010, where the judge said there's ample evidence that the 246 unindicted co-conspirators are guilty. So the evidence was so overwhelming that they were guilty. And, he's the Attorney General, and the Justice Department, under the tutelage of, it's the Obama Justice Department under the tutelage of Eric Holder, they decided to drop the charges and not further the investigation of CARE, of ISNA, of all these 501c3 organizations and individuals that were deemed by court papers and judges' decisions, Laura Burns' testimony, the FBI surveillance, FBI investigation, the whole thing. Biggest money laundering scheme in this country's history for terror, and they dropped the charges. With all the monies, the $18 trillion deficit that this country has, we spend money all over the place. You mean to tell me we couldn't keep this investigation open, with this Holy Land Foundation trial investigation open, to try to garner more information and learn more about what these terrorists have in mind over here in America to help further protect the interests of the American people, the security of the homeland, America, for the American people? No, they closed down the investigation. They dropped the charges. And I'm not saying that's illegal, because I don't know, I know that it wasn't the right thing to do. And Congressman Louis Gohmert went crazy on Eric Holder in the Congressional Oversight Committee hearings. You could just Google that. So now we got the Holy Land Foundation trial involved in this, all the way from Brooklyn to Virginia, and this Holy Land Foundation goes to Texas. So this is an amazing thing. I'm just like blown away by this whole thing. Why? I just can't understand. I'm closing on this. I just can't understand, firstly, how President Clinton doesn't know that based on all this information I provide every week on my pre-show, I don't know how President Clinton doesn't know that the Lady Foundation is a terrorist entity. Therefore, he can't accept money from a foundation or whatever, knowing that it's a terrorist entity. I don't know how he doesn't know that, based on all the data, all of the statistically significant information I present every week. I find it mind-boggling. It's unbelievable. The mosques, these sheiks get in with terrorist backgrounds that they have to leave their countries. They come here and they create terror and havoc over here, obviously. Unbelievable. What our intelligence between the FBI and the CIA, are you kidding me? These are the greatest intelligence agencies in the world, America. CIA and FBI. These guys are great. I don't get it. I'm not a truther, so don't get this twisted. But I just find it mind-boggling how the blind sheik got into America, how those two Yemen sheiks in the Lewis and Clark Law Review Journal article with the blind sheiks mosque, how they got in here. We went to Yemen. They got into the blind sheiks mosque. They were taking money. They were getting money from the blind sheiks mosque all the way from Yemen. We got them. We tracked it to informants, sting operations, and everything. We went over to Yemen. We tried them over here, and we deported them. Unbelievable. This is the Frankie Russo show. You want to see these documents. You want to see the Kelly Moore article and the Lewis and Clark Law Review article. Also, you want to see this hand skew, just send me. My email is frusso14@aol.com. I'm getting ready for the Frankie Russo show live here at 77 WABC. I just want to give you a heads up on something. You got to join America's team. You go to my Facebook.com/Frankie Russo show, Facebook.com/Frankie Russo 443. You go to my Twitter, Frankie Russo1. You click on the join America's team and you get a t-shirt. I got a store now. We're starting with t-shirts. We're going to come out with hats. I'm going to start a newsletter this week. Hopefully by next week I'll have my first newsletter going. So it's, I'm thinking about these pre-shows as I build America's team. I'm going to keep the pre-shows conceivably maybe private. And this way the people that join the America's team will have more behind the scenes information on where we're looking, because basically we're doing this research and this investigation because we love this great country America, and we're looking to preserve the greatness of this country, the exceptionalism of America, the freedoms that we know and love, this lifestyle that America provides us. We want to keep it. And the biggest threat to our lifestyle here in America are two things: the implosion of the United States economy, the collapse of the United States dollar, which we have to watch, and these radical Islamists that are waiting in the bushes to come out. Truth be told, Frankie Russo show. I'll see you all in a few. Pre-show, Frankie Russo pre-show number 70. See you in a few. You got it.